Hello! Happy 2025! Okay, we are going to talk about something that took up so much time and so much effort and caused a lot of heartache, but ultimately helped me learn so much in 2024, and that is markets. I participated in 14 markets in 2024. Before last year, I had only done 4 markets total in my life. So get ready because I'm about to do a tell-all about markets in Los Angeles. If you are a potter or ceramicist, this is a must-watch because there is some tea, there are some secrets to spill, and I've learned a lot and I want you to learn a lot too. So get ready! I'm number 15. Hey there, my name's Erica, I make pottery, and I'm here today to tell you all about how to do a market as a ceramicist. So a quick background on me, I have been making pottery for almost 9 years, and I started selling pottery in 2019. But before this past year, I had only done 4 markets in person. For the purposes of this video, I'm gonna use the word market. That encompasses anything that could be like a pop-up market, an art walk, an art fair, any kind of situation where you are selling your art in person. And during the year 2024, I participated in 14 markets. I learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes, had a lot of successes, and I'm gonna share with you everything I learned. Okay, so lesson number 1, it is a lot of work to do a market. Now, when you first get into doing markets, it really does require a lot of prep work, purchasing things, and more than anything, just time. The first few markets that I did this year required almost an entire day of prep work before I could even go to the market. You have to design your setup, you have to acquire or purchase a lot of items, and then with ceramics and pottery, you really have to pack all these items super carefully. And then when it comes time for the actual day of the market, oh my goodness. Expect for 14 to 16 hours of being on your feet. Usually for me, it started pretty early in the morning before the sun came up. I actually have a few clips from one of the biggest markets I did this year in September, which was the Pasadena Art Fair. So I'll show you a little bit about what it takes to get ready for a market before you even get there.
Good morning. I am doing the Pasadena Art Walk today. And it starts at 11 a.m. You have to be loaded in before 9 a.m. The goal is to leave here by 8, have everything loaded in by 9, and then we'll have 2 hours to set up. And then the event runs from 11 to 6, which is one of the longer events that I've done. The inventory that I have for this is truly wild. I have been working for months to prepare for this and then another pop-up that I'm doing next weekend. Very, very, very excited. We just gotta get ready next.
Now, something that I cannot stress enough that is so important is it is so crucial to enlist help. Now, I would say about half of the markets that I did this year, I did completely by myself, but usually those were smaller ones and it was after I had really gotten the hang of things. The bigger markets, it is so essential to enlist some help. And mostly it's just for the manual labor. When you're setting up a pop-up, you are quite literally bringing everything. You are setting up this tiny little storefront in the middle of a street, in a parking lot, on a sidewalk. Honestly, some of the places that I have had pop-up set up are truly hilarious. One time I was right in front of the porta potties. Another time I was set up right next to a stage and there were giant speakers blaring into my ears the entire day. You're trying to create this beautiful, aesthetic, lovely, clean shopping experience in the middle of the street sometimes. And I truly could not have done it without the help of my family. My parents are literally #1 superstars, so helpful. Back to September, I enlisted the help of my sister. All right, it's time to go. We're almost ready. By we, I mean me and
Jillian.
This is my sister and she's gonna help me today. I have a little stop motion video that just shows you how much work it takes to set up everything. Here in this spot, we were on the side of a road. So, we just had this 10 by 10 foot square space and we had to set up an easy up, multiple tables. We had to bring in, I think I had 6 boxes of pottery. You have to unwrap everything. You have to put out tablecloths. We hung up a backdrop. It took about 2 hours, and I would say on average it's about 90 minutes to 2 hours to set up a pop-up once I've unloaded everything. And loading and unloading, that's a whole separate thing. So I would just say, before you go into any pop-up or market experience, just be ready to freaking work hard. Okay, we are all set up over here. I've got everything. My booth is set up, and I'm gonna take you through the booth. For the first time ever, I'm doing a seconds table. So I just brought a couple of pieces that have, like, you know, a tiny something wrong with them, and we're gonna sell those discounted. I've got this beautiful little board, QR code that goes to all my socials and my website. There's my best helper ever. Love her. Then yeah, here's everything we've got going on. A lot of pieces. This is the kitchen corner. Cup mugs, butter dishes, spoon rests, and some vases and some magnets, candlesticks, things like that. Finally using this like banner that I made. Thank you so much. We made that months ago and it's finally up, and I think it looks really cute. I think it's gonna be a really good day, and we're totally set up and we're ready to go. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I'm Jillian. I am, of course, the CMO of Erica Moore Pottery. I'm also in true Erica Moore Pottery fashion, black and white. It's a 2-day affair, so nothing will be here by tomorrow night. Okay, so we're doing one final walkthrough right now before we actually open up for our second day. So we learned a couple of things yesterday. People want to see what the pottery looks like in action. So a few changes that we made. We added some fruit to the bowl because some people couldn't visualize what would be in there. They didn't really know. So we were like 2 apples, 2 bananas, and snacks for today, which is great. Erica's art director friend, Jamie, shout out to Jamie, came up with a great idea to put pictures, because Erica has so many pictures of professional pictures of all of her pottery in action. And especially we noticed with some of the kitchen things, because they're so versatile, people didn't quite understand what it could be. So, give them the vision like that. So we have some of that. Moving along over here, biggest thing we changed, the YouTube video right here, since Erica drops them weekly. And so adding that here on a loop so that people can kind of see how it's made. That's something that we've noticed from just TikTok especially. People love to see a process all the way to execution. So here we are today. Here are some of our updates. Hope it works out for the best.
We're learning and growing.
We're learning and growing.
So the next thing I learned in regards to doing markets as a ceramicist is to keep it simple. Oh my gosh. This took me so long to learn. When you are going into your first pop-up or market, it is so tempting to just buy so many things. If you go on Amazon and type in art pop-up essentials, you will find so many things. All of the costs that it takes to actually just put on a market, they can end up being so huge. And yes, you do kind of have to front some of those costs at the beginning, but I would just recommend to keep it super, super simple. These are the essentials from my experience. Number 1 is either an easy up or an umbrella. And this depends on how big your space is and often the market that you're vending with. Some require an easy up. Most of the time they require a white one, so just make sure to check the rules. And then sometimes when you have a smaller space, they say that you can only bring a patio umbrella. Number 2 is a table. Just to start out, I would say a 6-foot folding table, it's gonna be perfect for what you need. Number 3 is a tablecloth. I'm gonna tell you to check the requirements of whatever market you're vending with, because sometimes they can require you to have a specific kind of tablecloth, which I think is a little silly. I have stretchy tablecloths, I have non-stretchy tablecloths. I have just found that ones that don't stain easily, that don't wrinkle super easily, and I'll link it below in the description. It's just a white tablecloth that is flat on the sides. I know a lot of people like the stretchy tablecloths. I just personally don't love them because I store all of my boxes underneath my tables, and you can usually see the boxes through the stretchy tablecloth. Number 4, this is super important, and I think this is where a lot of people spend money that isn't totally necessary, and that would be displays or just some way to add height or dimension or a little bit more visual interest to your pieces. This is where you can fall into the trap of Amazon where they'll say, oh, we can give you this wavy wooden display piece where you can display your mugs, or this like super tall pegboard. Like, you can spend so much money on this stuff. What I did before my first pop-up in like 2019, so long ago, I went to Michael's and I bought a couple of wooden crates and then like some wooden risers. And I have used those 6 pieces for the past 6 years. It really doesn't need to be that complicated. And I would just say, try to save some money here, because you can certainly spend a lot. There are a lot of really cute ways to display your pottery or your art. You do not need to spend. The next thing that is absolutely essential is some sort of signage or branding. There's so many ways you can do this. I just bought, a little fabric branding sign off of Etsy that I really love. One of my best friends made me this like wooden sign a couple years ago. I always use that. And then number 6 is you absolutely need some sort of card reader. I use Square, and I just have their like really basic tap to pay card. And then the last thing is your work. So for me as a ceramicist, I try to bring enough to fill my table space, maybe like 2 to 3 pieces backup of most pieces. I got this pretty streamlined by the end of the year, where I had like 3 boxes that I could bring. It is very important to learn how to transport your work safely. I think the best way to do it is I have a bunch of plastic tubs, and then I just wrap each piece in 3 pieces of butcher paper. For the most part, I don't have that much breakage. It does happen every once in a while, but when that does happen, it brings me to lesson number 3, which is perhaps the biggest thing that I learned this year. And that is that people love a deal / selling seconds in person. Now, while I generally dislike when people try to haggle with me on the pieces of art that I've created at an art walk, seriously, just like don't do that. Now, besides that, it is just a fact of life that people love a deal. People love a bargain. The way that I take advantage of that is I started bringing seconds. So just a quick definition of seconds. Seconds are pieces of pottery that don't quite meet the maker's standard of perfection. Instead of selling them full price, they sell them at a discount because they have some imperfections. I have found that selling seconds in person is extremely successful. Of the 179 pieces of pottery that I sold this year at pop-ups and markets, 38 of them were seconds. For a ceramic artist, seconds can almost be deemed worthless, which is really sad. Like, you work on this piece for so long, and then like in my case, a flower will chip, and then I'm like, great, okay, this vase that was beautiful and amazing is now like worthless in my eyes because it has this one imperfection. But a lot of people will see that and think like, this doesn't affect the use of this, especially with my pieces where there's like 30 to 40 flowers on every piece. If there is one petal that is chipped, you can literally just slide that around to the back and it'll face the wall and no one will ever see this chipped petal. So usually in person, I will price seconds at like 50% of the price of a normal piece. All of these pieces were not sellable to me. They were taking up space in my house, but over the course of the year, I was able to rehome about 40 of them, which is so exciting to me. All right, and then the last thing I learned is just keep your expectations in check. I started out this year, I was like, wow, the 4 times that I've done markets, I've sold so much, and just kind of expecting that every market was going to go super well. Newsflash, it did not always go well. There were 4 of them where I sold literally nothing. Like, was there for 6 to 8 hours and sold not one piece of pottery. Really disappointing when that happens. There were also a couple markets this year, like I broke single day sales records for myself. I would just say, learn as much as you can about a market, about the organization that's throwing the market, about the location of the market. I have committed to markets before that I knew nothing about. I have spent a lot of money on markets that I knew nothing about. And then I've showed up and I have essentially wasted my time because, you know, it wasn't a location that had good natural foot traffic. Location is so important. You want natural discovery to be happening. I have found the most success with larger markets. I am such a huge fan of Jackalope. If you are in Southern California, Jackalope is like chef's kiss, the best, my absolute favorite market to go to because they do so much advertising. They'll put up billboards, They'll do online advertising. They just have this huge community of people that will regularly go to their events. I try to get into every single Jackalope event that is happening. They're in Pasadena, they're in Burbank. I'm just such a huge fan. Like, I love them. And it's just a wonderful experience every time I've done a market with them. I really do believe that selling in person at markets, it's a great way to get your pieces out to new people that aren't already exposed to you. It's a great way to get rid of seconds, to rehome pieces of pottery that don't quite meet your quality standards. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments below. I will definitely answer them. And especially if you're in Los Angeles, if you have any questions about specific markets, I have experience with a lot of them at this point, so I'm happy to answer any of your questions or give you any advice. Thanks for watching. I'll be back next week with a video talking about my goals for 2025. It's a really exciting video, and I have a couple of like fun little life updates in it too. So I can't wait to share that with you, and I will see you back here next week. Bye.